There's a plant that can literally knit broken bones back together. For over 2,000 years, it was trusted by physicians, grandmothers, and healers across every continent. Hospitals stocked it, herbalists swore by it, then, almost overnight, it was banned. Comfrey, Symphytum officinale, the plant once called knitbone and boneset, suddenly became public enemy number one. Governments worldwide issued warnings. It disappeared from herbal pharmacies and medicine cabinets across the globe. But here's what they're not telling you. This plant contains allantoin at concentrations up to 4.7%, one of nature's most powerful cell regeneration compounds. The same compound the pharmaceutical industry isolates, patents, and sells back to you in expensive creams. Clinical studies confirm it works as well as standard anti-inflammatory medications for sprains and joint pain. Its roots mine minerals from 6 feet underground, concentrating nutrients in leaves with protein levels comparable to legumes. For millennia, comfrey was humanity's go-to healer. The Greeks documented it. The Romans prescribed it. Medieval physicians praised it. Native Americans adopted it immediately upon contact. What happened? Why did a plant with such an impeccable historical record suddenly become forbidden? The answer reveals a disturbing pattern about how natural, unpatentable remedies get systematically suppressed, how traditional knowledge gets erased from public consciousness, and how corporate interests determine what plants you're allowed to know about. Let's look at the actual chemistry that made comfrey one of history's most revered healing plants. Comfrey contains allantoin at concentrations of 0.6 to 4.7% in its roots, among the highest in the plant kingdom. Allantoin stimulates cells to regenerate and multiply, accelerating wound healing and tissue repair. The pharmaceutical industry knows this, which is why you'll find synthetic allantoin in commercial diaper rash creams and wound care products. But in those products, allantoin is isolated, synthesized, patented, and sold back at massive markup. In comfrey, it comes with an entire symphony of complementary healing compounds working synergistically. The plant contains 20 to 30% mucilage polysaccharides that coat and protect irritated tissues while reducing inflammation. Add rosmarinic acid and caffeic acid, powerful anti-inflammatory antioxidants, plus triterpenes, saponins, phytosterols, and tannins, and you have a complete healing system in one plant. Comfrey's mineral profile is equally extraordinary. Its taproot penetrates over 6 feet down, mining potassium, calcium, magnesium, and trace minerals from subsoil layers other plants cannot access. It concentrates these nutrients in its leaves at remarkable levels. The protein content reaches 15 to 30% of dry leaf mass, comparable to legumes like alfalfa. Most fascinating, comfrey is one of the extremely rare plant sources of vitamin B12, absorbed from soil bacteria colonizing its root system. Clinical studies validate traditional knowledge. Modern research confirms topical comfrey preparations accelerate wound healing. Human trials demonstrated comfrey ointments performing as effectively as standard anti-inflammatory gels for ankle sprains. A 2019 review confirmed significant benefits for osteoarthritis pain and joint mobility. Germany's Commission E officially approved comfrey root preparations for blunt injuries, sprains, and inflammation. The science validates the tradition completely. So why the worldwide ban? Comfrey's very name reveals its historical reputation. The botanical name Symphytum derives from Greek symphio, meaning to grow together. The Latin consolida translates as to make firm. Both names reference its legendary ability to knit bones and unite torn tissue. This wasn't marketing hype. This was observed reality documented across cultures and centuries. Pliny the Elder, writing in the 1st century AD, recommended comfrey for bruises and sprains, noting its wound-healing effects. Dioscorides, whose medical text De Materia Medica remained authoritative for 1,500 years, wrote that ground comfrey root compresses could close fresh wounds and heal bleeding sores. Think about that. A medical text used continuously for 1,500 years documenting comfrey's healing properties. That's not folklore. That's accumulated empirical evidence tested across generations. Throughout the Middle Ages and Renaissance, comfrey was prescribed for gout, rheumatism, ulcers, and broken bones. Nicholas Culpeper's 17th century Complete Herbal documented its rapid healing of cuts and fractures. Traditional Chinese medicine used comfrey for thousands of years for coughs, ulcers, and skin problems. A completely different medical system on the opposite side of the world, yet arriving at remarkably similar conclusions. When European settlers brought comfrey to North America, Native American tribes immediately recognized its value and incorporated it into their own healing traditions. Multiple indigenous cultures, with no prior knowledge of European herbalism, independently confirmed comfrey's effectiveness. When a plant maintains its reputation across Roman, Greek, Chinese, European, and indigenous American traditions, spanning 2 millennia and 4 continents, that's not superstition. That's evidence. In traditional practice, comfrey was never just medicine. It was food, fertilizer, and pharmacy all in one. Externally, fresh leaves were crushed into poultices for bruises, sprains, and inflammation. The root was made into drawing pastes for infections and skin ulcers. Salves treated burns, cuts, and stubborn skin conditions. Compresses were wrapped around fractures to speed bone knitting. But comfrey's uses extended beyond topical applications. Young spring leaves were eaten as cooked greens, valued as nutritious food high in protein, vitamins, and minerals. In rural European communities, comfrey was a spring tonic, the first green food after winter, providing essential nutrients when stores were depleted. The root was prepared as tea for digestive issues, internal inflammation, and lung problems. Traditional herbalists understood dosage, preparation methods, and duration. They used small amounts, specific preparations, limited timeframes. This wasn't people mindlessly consuming pounds of raw comfrey daily. It was skilled practitioners employing a powerful plant carefully. That nuanced, accumulated wisdom got completely lost in the modern suppression narrative. Now we arrive at the heart of the matter. Comfrey cannot be patented. It grows freely, propagates easily from root cuttings, requires almost no maintenance, and produces hundreds of pounds of healing biomass per year. It's essentially free medicine, available to anyone with a small patch of ground. This represents an existential threat to billion-dollar industries. The pharmaceutical industry profits from synthesizing and selling back compounds found naturally in comfrey. Allantoin extracted becomes a patentable commercial product with massive profit margins. But whole comfrey, growing in your backyard, costing nothing? That's competition they cannot control or profit from. Then came the perfect weapon to eliminate this unpatentable competitor: pyrrolizidine alkaloids. Yes, comfrey contains pyrrolizidine alkaloids, PAs. These compounds can be hepatotoxic when consumed in large quantities over extended periods. This is real chemistry, real risk. But here's the critical context systematically omitted. The dose makes the poison. Traditional use involved small amounts, specific preparations, limited duration. The toxic cases cited almost universally involved people consuming comfrey capsules or teas daily for months or years, a use pattern completely divorced from traditional practice. Moreover, PA content varies dramatically by species and plant part. The message became clear. This plant your ancestors trusted for millennia is dangerous. Don't grow your own medicine. Trust the pills instead. Buy the processed cream. Remain dependent on the pharmaceutical supply chain. Meanwhile, generational knowledge faded. Urbanization disconnected people from plants and soil. Traditional wisdom about comfrey disappeared as grandparents died without passing knowledge to children who'd moved to cities and lost interest in old-fashioned remedies. The suppression didn't require destroying the plant itself. Just destroy the knowledge, erase the traditions, instill fear, critique why they hate it. The suppression of comfrey isn't primarily about safety. We'd see proportional warnings about acetaminophen, which causes thousands of hospitalizations and hundreds of deaths annually from liver failure. We'd see similar hysteria about alcohol, tobacco, and countless pharmaceutical medications with severe side effect profiles. Instead, comfrey, used safely for 2,000 years in traditional contexts, gets banned globally while genuinely dangerous substances remain freely available. What comfrey really threatens is control. It threatens the pharmaceutical industry's monopoly on healing compounds. It threatens the supplement industry's market for anti-inflammatories. It threatens the agricultural chemical industry that wants you dependent on synthetic fertilizers. Most fundamentally, comfrey threatens scarcity-based economic model that requires you to believe healing comes from stores and prescriptions, never from the ground beneath your feet. Weed is not a botanical category, it's a cultural judgment, and comfrey has been culturally judged as threatening to powerful economic interests. The systematic suppression carries consequences far beyond one plant. We're losing access to free, effective anti-inflammatory and wound-healing compounds, forcing people into dependence on expensive commercial products. We're losing traditional knowledge about safe preparation and use, making it more dangerous when people do try to use comfrey because the accumulated wisdom has been deliberately erased. We're eliminating a drought-tolerant, low-input plant that thrives without pesticides, mining deep soil nutrients, and providing abundant biomass. Exactly what we need for climate-resilient agriculture. We're losing a dynamic accumulator that could restore depleted soils and reduce dependence on synthetic fertilizers. We're severing our connection to traditional healing knowledge, to the wisdom of our ancestors, to the understanding that humans and plants co-evolved in relationship. The deeper consequence? We're accepting a worldview where nature is dangerous, traditional knowledge is suspect, corporate products are safer than plants, and feelings require purchasing rather than growing and knowing. But the story isn't over. Comfrey is experiencing a quiet renaissance. Permaculture practitioners worldwide have rediscovered comfrey's extraordinary value as a dynamic accumulator. The chop-and-drop method, cutting leaves and dropping them as mulch, returns deep-mined nutrients to topsoil where other plants can access them. Comfrey tea creates a potent free fertilizer. Herbalists are carefully reclaiming topical use, making salves and poultices using traditional methods with appropriate cautions. Research continues confirming effectiveness for soft tissue injuries and joint pain. Gardeners are planting Russian comfrey Bocking 14, the low PA hybrid, as a permanent addition to food forage. The plant attracts pollinators, suppresses weeds, and provides endless free biomass for compost. Online communities share cultivation tips, safety information, and traditional preparation methods, rebuilding the knowledge network that was deliberately broken. The narrative is shifting from dangerous banned plant to powerful healing herb requiring respect and knowledge. Comfrey represents a much larger pattern. It's one example among thousands of plants marginalized because they threaten economic interests. Dandelion, dismissed as a lawnweed despite being entirely edible and medicinally valuable. Plantain, trampled in every yard, yet historically used for wounds. Chickweed, pulled from gardens, though it's a nutritious edible. Nettles, feared for their sting, though they're among the most nutrient-dense greens available. The pattern repeats. Plants that grow freely require no inputs, provide food and medicine, get labeled as weeds and suppressed. Meanwhile, we're told to buy supplements, purchase organic greens, consume pharmaceutical anti-inflammatories, all delivering what's growing free everywhere. Comfrey teaches us to question what we've been told about nature, to ask who benefits from our ignorance, to recognize that weed often means too valuable to be left free. So what do we do with this knowledge? Learn to identify comfrey. Look for rough, lance-shaped leaves and hanging clusters of bell-shaped flowers. Plants grow 2 to 5 feet tall in moist areas. Once you can recognize it, you'll see it everywhere. If you have land, consider growing Russian comfrey Bocking 14, the low PA hybrid bred for garden use. Choose a permanent location because comfrey is nearly impossible to fully remove once established. Learn safe, traditional topical preparation methods. Make infused oils by steeping wilted comfrey leaves in olive oil for several weeks. Use this as a base for homemade salves, applying to intact skin only for sprains and bruises. Never apply to open wounds. Understand the cautions. Use comfrey to build soil. Cut leaves 2 to 5 times per season and drop them as mulch, or steep them in water to create liquid fertilizer. This returns minerals to your topsoil, reducing need for synthetic fertilizers. Share knowledge. Talk about comfrey's history, its traditional uses, the reasons for its suppression. Help others understand the difference between appropriate use and the pharmaceutical dose capsules that cause toxic cases. Rebuild the knowledge network. Question the broader narrative. Ask why plants that grow freely and work effectively get banned, while profitable pharmaceuticals with serious side effects remain available. Investigate other suppressed plants, foods, and traditional practices. Most importantly, start seeing weeds differently. That plant you're paying to poison might be medicine. That invasive species might be regenerating depleted soil. Comfrey is teaching us to look at the ground beneath our feet with new eyes, to recognize that our ancestors weren't ignorant. They were paying attention to what actually worked. To understand that the most valuable knowledge is often the most suppressed. To remember that nature doesn't charge for healing. The revolution isn't coming. It's already here. growing quietly in ditches and along stream banks, waiting patiently for humans to remember what was deliberately forgotten. Stop spraying. Start learning. Join the comfrey revolution.